Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for the patient listening. The day began when we heard about healthy aging as a whole. And I am Dr. Asha Narte. I'm a conservative dentist and endodontist. My job is to preserve teeth by doing various restorative procedures, be it preventive, restorative, interceptive, and also perform endodontic treatment, that is root canal treatment, as you must have heard of. So, at the till the very end, be the patient be 16 or 98 or 100. My job is to preserve the teeth if they are in a reasonably healthy manner. So there are certain technical aspects to this, which I shall be very brief about because I thought there were some dentists also over in this audience. To begin with, I thank GSI for giving us this immense opportunity to collaborate with all the respected physicians from the medical field. I have many of my teachers who are present over here. I had the privilege to be part of the certificate program for geriatric medicine and gerontology. Tomorrow I'll be receiving my certificate at the convocation. So many thanks to Dr. Anita, who had a one-on-one session with me last week in Satara, and she was so wonderful. She taught me 1 hour lecture on osteoporosis, and I was her only student, and I'm ever grateful and thankful for that. So coming back to the topic of how we go about doing restorative and endodontic procedures in patients who are old. To begin with, I have been in clinical practice for past 29 years. Since 2009, I had the privilege of working at Breach Candy Hospital Trust in Mumbai. I'm a conservative dentist endodontist consultant in our dental clinic over there. And being in the dental clinic was where this journey of understanding our aging persons began. Because many a times patients are sent to us one day before a cardiac procedure, a nephrology procedure, for a dental clearance. And many a times patients who come to us have dental infections which need treatment like extractions or root canal treatment, which cannot be completed in half an hour or so. So it's always a procedure that may get delayed because we need the time. But that is where we learned, interacted with our medical colleagues, had a better understanding as to how to go about with dental treatment in patients who have general health which is on the decline, but at the same time to keep them healthy and stable. Because teeth are very important from the function point of view. From morning, we have heard of how nutrition is important for healthy aging, how exercise is important. Now, to have good nutrition, you need to have healthy teeth. And this is where we dentists from different specialities come into play to provide patient with that comfort against their declining health. So, population aging has been one of the greatest accomplishments, and this is because of technological growth, better access to healthcare, better diagnosis and treatment, declining mortality rates, and a better educated generation. Today, patients are well aware socially and well aware because they are exposed to all kinds of media. They come to us asking for treatment more than what we can tell them, or they come to us asking whether it is feasible in their mouths. So, even if a patient is in a declining health, we have to offer them a quality of life. So, there is something about health, about disease, and the ability of the patient to adjust to the circumstances. So, I always put forth a simple example. A diabetic patient who has poor periodontal health, his teeth are all loose in the mouth, as a result of which he cannot chew on food, the nutrition is poor, and is failing in health. Undergoing extractions and wearing a denture improves his health status. His disease is under periodontal disease is under control, and he's able to adjust to the circumstance with dentures in his mouth, and the quality of his life improves. Or say, for example, a cancer patient who has been diagnosed with oral cancer maybe has to undergo hemimandibulectomy. He has lost half the jaw. At that point in time, recovering from cancer, undergoing chemoradiation is important. But after that, helping the patient with guiding plates or basic brushing techniques to maintain and keep the remaining teeth in the jaw helps him improve the quality of life. So, what are the goals in geriatric care? It's the first and the foremost thing when a patient visits our setting is to understand the problems of the patient. And when I say understanding the patient's problem, it is not just the oral health that we need to understand. We as dentists are on a daily basis trying to understand the general health of the patient, the limitations that are involved when different treatments are on, but at the same time, try and provide the best care possible to the patient. And when we understand the patient's problem is then when we can have a kind of treatment plan in place, make the patient prepare for a kind of outcome that he or she should expect, and help the patient adapt to that environment, because sometimes patients come with ambitious feelings like all my teeth are in bad shape but I have multiple health issues and I need the best perfect set of teeth in a limited period of time. So that's where we tone down our patients and we tell them in reasonable manner we can provide you with the best oral health possible. So when I talk about this is one slide that I always put up. This patient, 83-year-old, was a regular patient of mine. If you see at 83-year-old, the OPG, that's a full mouth X-ray on the right side, shows that most of her teeth are present in the mouth. So she's been that careful about her oral health. She was ambulatory and she would be coming, but she suffered from essential hypertension. She had bronchial asthma and later developed Parkinsonism. Now, since she was on a long-term medication for hypertension, the calcium channel blockers, she had a tendency towards hyperplastic gingivitis. As a result of which, she was put on a regime where she used to have a 3-month follow-up where a basic cleanup used to be done and she would be relieved of her symptoms. For some reason, the patient went missing and came back after 6 months telling me that there was a mosquito bite on her left cheek. Now, these are atypical presentations patients come with. When I examined the oral cavity, there was a huge lesion with the mandibular first molar on the left side, and that had resulted in a fistula on the left side of her face, which she thought was a mosquito bite and it wasn't healing. And was the scenario of the multiple drug therapy. Now, being a Parkinsonism patient, she was on the medication Syndopa, which causes hypersalivation, xerostomia. So, in a situation like this, there is no lubrication of the saliva, tendency for plaque formation is more, bacterial count is more, and that is why there was a rapid deterioration of the tooth that led to a fistula. So the patient, and I said, we have to do a surgical extraction. And she used to always visit the practice alone. And that was the first time I told her, I said, I need to involve your family because they need to understand the gravity of the situation as to how we go about with the treatment and the preparation that you will be losing a tooth. And maybe we won't be able to have a replacement for some time. So we went ahead with the extraction with the surgical curettage with the permission from the physician and brought her back to health, and the so-called mosquito bite healed. So it is not that when we treat patients, we just look at the teeth or the mouth. It is understanding the patient as a whole and offer them with the best treatment possible. So how do we look at a geriatric dentition? Is it somebody who comes with just few 8 or 10 teeth in the mouth? Today, patients as aged as 94 or 98 or 100 have full set of teeth at times. And because they have been meticulous about it. Yes, my co-speaker said that there's almost 1 billion people who do not avail about dental treatment. But there are a whole lot of people who, in spite of medical health issues and medical decline, cognitive decline, still seek treatment to have a overall good health. I'm not going to elaborate much more on this. My friend spoke about caries, tooth loss, gum issues, what we call as periodontitis, and oral cancer. being the most common oral conditions, because these are age-related changes that take place. Because over a period of time, the teeth that healthily erupt undergo certain changes in their structure, which results in food getting accumulated with proper oral hygiene measures not being followed, leading to detrimental effects on the teeth. And also, there are certain risk factors, like what happens with age is that the gum tends to recede. There is a presence of dry mouth because of multiple medication the patient is on, or many a times because of the old restorations that are there in the mouth. So when we talk about dental caries or cavities, as the layman calls it, it's the most common bacterial disease in man. In the older adults, we still see 50 to 60% of them having it. But also, what we see with predominance is root caries. So, when there is a recession in the gums and the root surface is exposed, there's always a tendency for food lodgement, a biofilm to form, where there is bacterial infliction on the tooth surface, resulting in breakdown of the cementum and the dentine, resulting in rapid spread of caries. Also, with age, what happens is the chewing surfaces of the teeth flatten out, the contact between the teeth, they tend to become flat, the gaps widen, there's a tendency for food to get stuck. Your regular brushing doesn't remove all the food that is stuck between the teeth, leading to huge cavities at the sides of the teeth. The patient doesn't realize till the pulp is exposed and he's in severe pain or with a swelling that he comes to the clinic. Also, what happens is with sarcopenia, the tendency towards effective brushing or the lubrication of the mouth because of lack of salivation add to all the problems of dental caries. Along with caries, what we see are certain non-carious lesions, what we call as erosion, abrasion, abfraction, attrition, where either the chewing surfaces wear out or the sides of the teeth wear out, maybe because of harmful brushing techniques like the horizontal way of brushing teeth, or maybe because of a gastroesophageal reflux, or what we see today is because of stress. There's a high tendency towards clenching of the teeth, parafunctional habits leading to wearing of the teeth. So these are the situations where the patient can come with non-carious lesions. Now, if you look at this picture, it is not that a patient will come alone with a non-carious lesion, or another patient comes with cavities, or another patient will come with gum issues. They all come in combination. In the same mouth, you'll see a presentation of decay, you'll see a presentation of loose teeth, and at the same time, wear at the sides of the teeth. So when we see such teeth, many of us dentists always, especially in the younger generation, it is to go ahead with doing a restoration and intercept the problem that is there on hand. But when we treat an aging population or a person above 60, our first premise towards treatment is to offer a preventive care and then slowly intercept and treat the problem. So if it is in its initial stages, as my friend said, we use fluoride, uh, toothpaste, gels, varnishes. Today, apart from fluoride, because some people have inhibition about using fluoride toothpaste. Now, there are certain derivatives like casein for phosphopeptides and casein for phosphate, amorphous casein phosphate, which offer remineralization of the cavities that are there in the initial stages, which work beautifully. In patients who have severe gum issues, we prescribe chlorhexidine mouthwashes, chlorhexidine gels to bring down the bacterial count that is there in the mouth. But when the cavities are a little bigger, that is when we offer different kinds of restorations. You have tooth color restorations, which have great adhesive potential. So these kind of restorations, you don't have to mutilate the remaining tooth structure. They can be bonded well and the tooth comes back to its normal state. But in certain other situations, we have different materials like glass ionomer, which are adhesive in nature, which even offer good results to the patient. Once we take care of the initial restorations, if the patient needs comprehensive treatment in terms of endodontic therapy, that is root canal treatment and crowns, or maybe some situations, even if the patient is in her his or her late 80s and 90s, we do a full mouth rehabilitation to keep the patient comfortable. So this is again a typical presentation of dental caries with age-related wear, where the patient underwent root canal treatment with crowns, implants in the anterior segment, with the denture in the upper posterior segment. So this is where we, within our dentistry, where different specialities come together to offer the best treatment possible for the patient. Now, coming to a condition, xerostomia, which everybody is aware of. Multiple drugs, multiple health issues. 30% of our patients above 65 years or 40% of patients above 80 years suffer from xerostomia. And believe me, it is very difficult to treat them. These are patients who come with multiple cavities and it is a rapid spread. The mouth is pat dry. There is no salivation. Whatever food, even if they brush twice daily, have sips of water between meals, there is still plaque accumulation and the breakdown of the enamel and dentine is at a very rapid rate. So these are the patients who are trained and educated about the importance of maintaining a good oral hygiene. Maybe a regular patient who doesn't have xerostomia, brushing twice daily is more than enough. But for a patient with these issues, maybe brushing after all meals, sipping onto water. Now, when it comes to water, this is what I always tell among our dental colleagues. It's very easy to say, drink water. But then there are patients who have renal disorder, patients with pulmonary hypertension, where there is a restriction on the water intake. And many a times they are not allowed to take more than 1 to 1.5 liter of water. So when we go ahead and prescribe, be careful to who you are telling the amount of water to hydrate the mouth. At the same time, educate the patient to limit alcoholic beverages, sugar, coffee, tea, sodas to prevent the dehydration of the mouth. We can do topical fluoride application in some patients where there is multiple caries, but at the same time, the patient has certain other health issues whereby he or she can't sit on the chair for long. There is some product called as silver diamine fluoride. We just apply that on the surface of the decay, which prevents the further spread of decay and keeps the patient comfortable. Apart from this, we advocate the patients to use xylitol, chewing gums, vitamin C lozenges, and these days a lot of intraoral moisturizers are available, which we tell the patient to apply from time to time to keep himself or herself comfortable. So this is a simple presentation of a patient with dry mouth. Now this patient again had multiple comorbidities, but what led to his problem about cavities around the gums of the teeth was because he was on a herbal medication for constipation and which was sticky in nature, and he wouldn't brush his teeth at night. As a result of which, he had rings of cavities around the cervical edges and he was in an uncomfortable state. So we did simple procedure of cleaning up, restoring these teeth with composite restorations, and these are very cost effective measures. When it comes to a dentist, everybody thinks about doing crowns and all, and then there is an inhibition about the cost factor that is involved. But these are simple modalities whereby we restore the teeth and the patient is back to form and function. Another aspect of breakdown of teeth. Now, again, in the hospital, there are a lot of patients who come to us just before they go in for radiation therapy. So the oral surgeon knows the surgeon knows the importance of sending the patients to us because we need to evaluate them. If there are teeth which are severely infected, we extract those teeth. And the rest of the teeth, we put preventive fluoride application. We again teach the patient how to brush the teeth, the importance of using fluoridated toothpaste throughout the treatment that he is on. Because with radiation, what happens is that there is a rapid breakdown of the enamel dentine, the collagen within the dentine breaks down, the tooth becomes prone to decay, and it is a rapid spread. And at the end of the treatment, this is how the patient presents. black teeth at the cervical and the incisal edges. So we don't want these situations. These are more preventively treated, but many a times when it goes without the knowledge of the treating doctor, this is how they come up with. Once their radiation is over and they come and ask, what now? How are you going to restore my teeth? So initially what we do is that we put them on the preventive regime, and there are certain restorations like glass ionomer restorations where we selectively clean, and because of their adhesive properties, we keep them comfortable till such time the physician gives us the consent to go in for comprehensive treatment. So we also stage our treatment plan based on how the patient presents. So whenever a patient comes to us, maybe sometimes it's a sharp edge of the tooth that is lacerating into the cheek, or maybe there is food that is accumulated between the teeth that is causing a gingival swelling. Those kind of emergencies are treated first. And then as a stage 2 procedure is when we go about doing the restoration. And in stage 3 is when we do the final rehabilitation in a comprehensive manner. So these are few situations where we work with our fellow professionals, our fellow specialists like Smita and George, who are prosthodontists, where even though the tooth is totally broken down, we restore the teeth and bring it back to function. So none of the teeth go for extraction. However mutilated they are, we do root canal treatment, we put posts in place and then a crown so that the function of the teeth are maintained. So again, as our earlier speaker was talking about smile, be it the beginning of the day, at the end of the day, a professional smile. But there's something the elderly want to do, smile well. And it is a duty of us dentists, even if they're 78 or 84, we provide them with cost-effective treatment. These are all direct restorations that are done on the existing mutilated teeth, and the patient maintains it well, and they are ever so happy to go about with their social functions within and outside the family. Now, all I spoke about till now was about the restorative aspect. But sometimes when the decay is within the tooth to the extent that the pulp is involved and there is irreversible infection, instead of extracting, we can do what is called as root canal therapy, whereby we remove the pulp within the tooth right up to the tip of the root, clean it out, bring about healing, restore the tooth, put a crown in place so that the function of the tooth is maintained. With age, there are certain biological, medical, procedural issues, but in the present day, with magnification, even if the teeth are mutilated, even if the pulps are constricted, we can successfully treat them. So
Dr.
these are
Asha,
again patients.
I just want you to keep
These
the
are
time in
again
mind.
patients like diabetic patients, infections, they are retreated, restored so that the patient's function is met. This is one of my favorite topics. Dr. Anita also had emphasized a lot on it. These days, patients come to us and say we are on multiple vitamins, and one vitamin among them sometimes is Osteophos 70, or they tell us, हाँ मैं साल में 2 बार ना वो injection लेता हूँ. Now, when we do plain restorations, there is no problem. But the minute we have to do a surgical procedure, there is always a worry that there's no osteonecrosis of the jaw. So whenever a patient comes with the medication, it is our responsibility also to be in touch with the treating physician, understand the pharmacodynamics of the drug, and then only go about with treatment. These are about frail patients who, in spite of their frailty, being homebound, we do endodontic procedures to help them save the few remaining teeth that are there in the mouth so that their chewing efficiency is maintained. The patient on the right, homebound Alzheimer patient, but with clenching, the teeth had become sharp. So we went home and made something called as a bite guard to protect those sharp surfaces, and the patient was comfortable. So as I come to the end of my presentation, what I need to ask each of you and my fellow colleagues is that when we treat an aging patient, is it about me alone? It has to be a collaborative treatment within our specialty, with the medical fraternity, so that we understand our patients much more. But what we do selectively to the patients in our hospital or clinic setup is not enough. There's something beyond that where we have to engage community program, where we create awareness that teeth can be saved, the need of importance of having teeth in the mouth for their own longevity. So we as professionals need to interact, collaborate, come together, have many more forums like this so that we can exchange our ideas for the betterment of our patient. So thank you so much for your patient hearing. So I always end it saying that caring for our seniors is perhaps the greatest responsibility we have. Those who have walked before us have given us so much and made life the possible that we all enjoy. This is my mother and mother-in-law. Incidentally, they are both from this place. So though I'm from Amchi, Mumbai, both of them had their roots, one in Vayapin and one in Tiruvalla. So this topic and today's evening, the symposium is dedicated to these wonderful ladies. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Asha.
Is there anything that you would want to ask us? I know it's the fag end of the day.
If there are any questions from the audience, we'd be happy to.
Yes.
Jan.
Yes, sir.
And this is the first meeting on dental diseases or geriatric dentistry I'm attending. See, when something is lost or much more is lost at the age of 65, there is no role of prevention. You prevent what is left now. So I think you have so many specialties. This public awareness is very important. It must start from childhood to adulthood. There should be a specialty of public awareness dentistry.
So we have a specialty, community dentistry.
Then that is not working. That should work immensely. Public awareness is very important. Say, in orthopedics, we get a disease of elbow after an injury. If you get massage, it is called as myositis ossificans. So patient cannot bend it. So I used to say, what is the fun of treating him now? What is the use of talking to him about prevention? That is the time to treat it. So public awareness, in fact, regarding dentistry is much more important than medicine teaching or surgery or orthopedics. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your input.
Thank you for the nice presentations. I'm a physician and a professor of medicine. I was teaching the dental students for a long time, the third year dental students medicine. So we used to always stress on taking the BP and all those basic examinations, even in dental clinics. I have a comment or two. The first one would be, if you see an elderly person getting up with a lost tooth in the morning, take a chest X-ray. Take a chest X-ray. Very important cause of developing pneumonias. So the person loses teeth, at least send him to a physician or someone and get a chest X-ray. This is one point which probably will first come to you, lost tooth. The second thing that medical problem that can come to you first is bruxism. Bruxism is a big problem, and I'm sure all of you know that. Teeth biting, unintended biting, yes. This can be a manifestation of many systemic diseases, including sleep apnea, stress, mental disorders like anxiety, or even epilepsy. So if a dental surgeon comes across with bruxism, that needs to be attended very, very carefully, because it can actually lead to a very sinister diagnosis. And please don't miss that. We also should not miss that, of course. And the third thing I would like to say is that when a dental surgeon gets an elderly person, very old people, it should be very, very clearly clarified whether the person has a cervical spondylosis. Take the history and maybe get an opinion before you actually manipulate on the chair. I've seen a case where the dentist, a very enthusiastic dentist, and the assistant worked a lot in the oral cavity, turning the neck, this, that, and finally the patient became quadriplegic. So dental surgeons should definitely, in the elderly people, take the history of cervical spondylosis. 3 important comments I thought I can pass.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for sharing. Since you said that there's, when you were talking about pneumonia and tooth loss, also what we see is that patients who have generalized periodontitis, we always say that their tendency towards pneumonia is very high. So that is why in our dental settings, when we see such patients, especially the elderly, we stress on the fact that they need to come for regular cleanups. And we also expect from your side that you too, when you see such patients, tell us. The second thing about cervical spondylosis, point well taken, because it's I've seen patients who develop vertigo post treatment. So these days we have special small cushions or pillows that go exactly where the neck support is given. This is as an added additive to the chair, so that when they are with their neck recline backward, they are more comfortable. So these kind of untoward incidents do not occur. But thank you so much. We'll bear it in mind.
So, with the permission of the chair, I just want to make 2 more comments. One very important, that I am a diabetologist and metabolic physician. So, any patient coming to a dental surgeon of any age, especially the elderly population, they must ask them, what is your sugar level?
Yes, sir.
And second thing is that any patient coming to the physician for any disorder, please, not only their blood pressure, their pulse, their height, weight, but also check their blood sugar, and please look into the oral cavity. That is very, very important. Show your teeth, show me your oral cavity. Do you have any problem related to that? Patient may not come out. And if you find anything abnormal, this is for we physicians, ask your patient to take consultation of a dental surgeon. That is very, very important. And second thing is that the dental surgeons and the physicians, the internal medicine person, I'm not saying the geriatricians or the cardiologist or nephrologist, because the internal medicine person should be the central point for every patient. And he should decide that this patient is on treatment for nephropathy or cardiopathy or cardiac problem or diabetes. Then third thing, the patients come to us, Doctor Saab, please tell us a good dentist. In their opinion, the definition of a good dentist is who is not very costly.
Yes.
So please take care. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for the patient hearing, though it was the
Just
end of the
one
day.
comment.
This
Orthopedic surgeons use a lot of alendronate for osteoporosis, and they get subtrochanteric fractures. We say, yes, this fracture is transverse, it is subtrochanteric. Are you on alendronate? But you have just mentioned about the osteonecrosis of the denture. I think this is very important again. For how much duration you should take alendronate?
yes.
Or does osteonecrosis of the denture, if it is examined, help us? Yes, you stop the medicine. That is also a very important issue. I do feel that we must seek opinion from the dental surgeons, and dental surgeons should also collaborate with people who are taking alendronate.
It is a total bidirectional approach. We don't do any surgeries without the consent from the orthopedician, because we don't want any problems post surgery. So we usually, if they're on oral osteoforce medication, usually the physician gives a 3-month window. Otherwise, if it is drugs like Prolia, then it is at the end of the 5th month when they say it is clear, before the second shot is given, that the surgical procedure is done.
I am Dr. Binduvi Bhaskar. I'm a dental public health specialist from Kerala. I wish to share my experience that we have started a statewide program, oral health program for the elderly called Vayosmitham. That program we have coordinated with the NGOs and the public health specialist or the departments, as well as the help from Indian Dental Association. So we are looking forward to collaborate with IMA also. So I think we can take it to a next level. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We are collaborating with Biosmithum. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. Very informative talk. A few points I would like to share. The last IMA state conference, I had attended one dental talk. Persons with the poor oral hygiene, they are prone to develop myocardial infarction. They are prone to develop cerebrovascular accident, and they are prone to develop neurodegenerative disease, Alzheimer's dementia. These things.
Yes.
These are the points I got at the talk.
Yes.
Really wonderful. These are the few points I would like to add to this talk.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
Thank you so much. Points noted. I think with this, we have come to the end of our symposium. Thank you so much again for all the patient hearing and for the wonderful discussion we had. Thank you.
So thank you, faculties.